Hello my little geeks and freaks. Welcome back to my book bowl challenge where I will go through a massive bowl of books and hopefully not lose my sanity in the process. If you are new here, this is what I do. I have a giant bowl with titles and that I keep adding to every couple of months because I love to suffer. I really do. And I pull out titles. I pull out a bunch of titles all at once. It usually takes me a few months to get through all of them. And I read them and I give you an honest review on my thoughts. My thoughts may not be the same as yours. Most likely won't be the same as yours, and not everybody thinks the same way, but my thoughts also might align with yours. And either way, that's okay. I want to hear your differences in opinion. I want to hear what you think about my opinions. I want to hear it all. But I want to give you guys an honest review while also being vague, because if I give too much details, what's the point of reading the book? Before I continue, I am doing a follower challenge across all my platforms. So I do a reading challenge across my platforms too, where I spin the wheel and I see how much I'm going to read. But I'm also doing a follower challenge. So for every follower or subscriber I get across any of my platforms, I will read a page in your honor. If you guys want to see me suffer, hit the subscribe button and make me suffer. Make me work for it. So this book is called Rule the Night by Sadie Hunt, which is the first book in the Blackwell Butchers trilogy, which is the fourth trilogy in the Blackwell saga. That's a mouthful, but yeah. As you guys know, I am such a little fangirl over Sadie Hunt's Blackwell saga. I will never not be a fangirl. I really want to get the physical copies of this book. And I have to say, so far this book seems different than every other book in the saga. I know that there's the same issues of people being taken and forced into a terrible life. I know that that's still a problem throughout this book. It's going to be something throughout this saga, I'm sure of it, which is fine. I think that that's actually pretty cool that it ties in. I mean, again, this is it's one place and a big issue. I get that. So that's the same. However, it's not really talked about as much as in the other books. Not completely. It doesn't officially revolve around that, at least not at this point. It was definitely hinted at a little bit in this book, but not to the, like I said, not to the extent as the previous series, where, you know, we knew that there was these rings of people and girls going missing and stuff. And yes, it's hinted at here, but that's not the reason that the book is starting, if that makes any sense. We start the book off with a defiant firecracker of a woman named Maeve who joins something called the Hunt. It is there that she is hunted down by 3 masked men wearing animal skull masks named Poe, Bram, and Remy. The Hunt is a game in which women are hunted by men who are in teams of 3. And the rules are simple. Don't get caught, and you win. Get caught, and you lose. In the game, you consent to be hunted, you consent to be claimed, you consent to be marked, you consent to be owned. It's interesting. You have to not get captured for 24 hours in order to win. You are running through tunnels that are underneath Blackwell Falls, and obviously these men have more experience in the tunnels, and you just have to outrun them and outlast them. If you win, they'll do what you want. Whatever you ask, they will grant your wish. It's like a genie. It usually involves unaliving someone. If they win, you have to be in servitude of them for 3 months. Not in the way of being forced into it like the rings that have been a problem. Like, you consent to this. You know that this is a chance that this is happening. It is completely consensual, but very primal. You are in servitude for 3 months, because that's when the next hunt would be. So Maeve has to run through these tunnels under Blackwell Falls, but it's dark in there with only a little bit of lighting, and the butchers know their way around these tunnels, and they have their eyes on Maeve. They have no intention of losing. When they capture her, she's forced to live with them. But she's surprised when the servitude that they're demanding is just that she cooks for them, because obviously that wasn't what was expected. These men never intend to sleep with the girls from the Hunt. They are just meant to be their cooks for 3 months, even though every other team definitely enjoys the perks of a 3-month consensual bed buddy. And they're in luck. Maeve went to culinary school. She likes to cook, she likes to bake. Perfect candidate for them to have some decent food. And that's exactly what she does for them. Unfortunately, they invade her privacy. They do background checks, they check in on her, they have a camera in her room. It's their right, but she's a very stubborn, defiant, private girl, and she's not exactly happy about that situation. Let's talk about why Maeve joined the hunt, because you have to have a reason. You have to have somebody you want unalived. So what could someone like Maeve, who comes from a seemingly good life, normal life, want from the hunt? Who does she want unalived? Her sister June was unalived by her own boyfriend Chris, and Maeve feels guilty about it because the entire family knew Chris was starting to change, and they tried to get June to leave him, and she wouldn't, and Maeve was really upset about it, and June had called her, and Maeve didn't answer because she was upset, and that happened to be the day that June lost her life. And it wasn't until about 2 weeks later that they found her body. Maeve turns her guilt into rage and has her sights set on the people responsible for the loss of her sister. Chris is unfortunately behind bars, so she can't do anything about him. But Chris started to change when he started to become a fan of this guy who had a podcast, and his name was Ethan Todd, who happened to be a person who grew up in Blackwell Falls. Ethan Todd is a man who essentially convinced men that women were the problem. That was their biggest problem in the world. Men forgot that they needed to be the men. They needed to take charge. They needed to be in control and dominating and earn the money and put the woman in their place and be everything. And the woman's job was just essentially there to do what they were told and spread their legs. Women were essentially just tools for them. And he is a vile human being. He thinks that it should go back to the way things used to be, where women were essentially cleaning, cooking, raising children, being quiet, not causing issues, and men were doing whatever the hell they wanted. Very Andrew Tate-esque, I believe. I don't know much about him, but from what I have heard, that's the kind of vibe I was getting. He believes women need to be submissive, they need to keep their mouth shut, and they need to do what they're told. Maeve wants him eliminated. She tried to do it herself, but she failed. Hence her decision to join the hunt. Now, unfortunately, the butchers catch her, so they don't get to give her her wish, and she has to live with them and cook. Poe, he's had a rough life as well. Him and his brother were raised by their grandparents when his mother went missing, and unfortunately, they never found out what happened to his mother. It is briefly spoken about. The grandmother believes that she was taken, that something happened to her. She wouldn't have run away. But a lot of issues in this area is that minorities aren't exactly prioritized. And unfortunately, being Indigenous people meant that they weren't as important to be looked into, which is... I'm not even going to bother to go into depth how annoying and frustrating that is, because people are people. I don't give a shit. Just like look into what the hell's happening. Not important. I really do hope that maybe there's some inclination of what happened to her throughout the book, but I don't know if that'll happen because she's not really the main part of the story. But you never know. On top of that, Poe's brother turned to illegal substances and got into a lot of trouble and ended up in prison. Bram lost his parents when he was 19 and had to kind of give up his life, his college, his everything. He came home, he raised his sister, he worked the streets, then he ran the streets to try to do whatever illegal activity he could to make money and keep his sister safe and alive, and that was his purpose. He did everything to keep his sister safe. Now he essentially runs Blackwell Falls. He is he's kind of like a legend in Blackwell Falls, royalty. Not everybody really knows him. He's kind of seen as a ghost, but they know of him. There's stories to be told about him. People are afraid of him. People respect him. And they know that he's the real person in control of this area. Remy, unlike Poe and Bram, had a pretty normal upbringing, no trauma to speak of. He was middle class. He had no traumas, no issues, no divorced parents, no being hurt, no unalivings in the family. He just is a little dark and twisty, you know? It happens. All of the butchers are insanely attracted to Maeve, which leads them to breaking rules that they would never break, and it even leads Bram to breaking rules, that's crazy. But he fights it a lot more than the other two do. The three of them learn to live with Maeve, and they grow used to her food, her warmth, her laughter, and her defiance. They even want to help her with her Ethan problem. Even though she lost the hunt, unfortunately Bram stops them, Killjoy. And he tries to ignore her and essentially treats her like garbage, which really hurts her. And when she finally does get him close and things steam up a bit, he rejects her. So she leaves before the 3-month contract is up. She fulfills her duties, makes the food that they need, and she leaves when they're not home. This causes a lot of tension in the friend group. Poe and Remy blame Bram, but Bram won't tell them what actually happened. They just know that he's to blame for it. And then Bram forces them to do the hunt again, even though they don't want to do the hunt because they don't want to hunt anyone that isn't Maeve. He doesn't even want to hunt anyone that isn't Maeve, but he's trying to prove a point. On top of that, nobody is aware that Ethan found out about his little stalker and has now also joined the hunt because he stalked her enough to get a lot of information, and now he is going after her. He feels like he's more powerful than Bram now, that he could take Bram out or take something precious from Bram, which makes him happy. He's weird. And the book ends with the next hunt beginning, where we see Bram, Remy, and Poe lock eyes with a very familiar girl in the hunt. Maeve has rejoined, and she stands there once again, looking defiant, despite the broken heart that she carries. Unknowingly, Ethan is also there, watching, and ready to join the hunt. I have to say, this is quite an interesting change in the saga, having this hunt while Ring is kind of in the background. It'll definitely be more prevalent. There's definitely been some hints that let me know that it's going to be a bigger problem now, but it wasn't the main thing that was discussed. It's going to be something that comes later. And I like that we even get some of Ethan's point of view. In the past series, we do get some of the antagonist's point of view, but I am happy to see that sick and twisted man's thought process, because I'm going to be so satisfied when he's eliminated. And he does admit that he never knew Chris or June, but he fails to realize that the crazy shit he's saying and the things that he's spewing is the reason that this has happened. And based on what Ethan has said in his point of view, he's definitely involved in the trafficking. He's definitely a problem. So I can't wait to see how that plays out. My favorite scene in the book is the apple orchard. Very steamy, very beautiful, very enjoyable. I also, more of a non-spice scene that I like. I really enjoy the scene after Bram pretends he doesn't know who Maeve is. He feels really guilty about it, and we see his perspective where he takes a little, I wouldn't say it's a hike, but he walks on a trail, gets some space, and kind of does some thinking. And seeing that it was a scene I actually enjoyed too. Overall, as usual, I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the series. I enjoyed the saga, so I'm excited about reading more of it. And I can't wait to read the rest of the series. I'm excited to see how the hunt plays out, how the next hunt plays out, I should say. That is all, though, for this review. That is where we left off. We're going to see, I guess, I don't know how far into the book the hunt's going to last, but we're going to see how the hunt progresses. Is Ethan going to be more of a problem than they're ready for? And what it goes from there. Let me know if you read this book, or if you want to read this book or the series. Again, if you want to read this series, I recommend starting with Aventine University, working your way to Blackwell Beasts, then Blackwell Bastards, and then Blackwell Butchers. If you're into reverse harem, primal and blood play, muscular, sexy men, and one very strong-willed woman, you might be interested in this book. Comment your thoughts below, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell to be informed every time I post a new video. I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate your support, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.